Now, Verve, you've got to respect people's boundaries and limits. You are in the Empire. Just cool down
I
a second.
will
It seemed
look
like to me
over
you
to
didn't even
Wrist and
have
say,
something to ask. How about we will both step
I
out?
did, but he would not let me.
Well,
Just because of
that's a
what I am, he should look at what he is.
well, you never did offer knowledge when you said it should be shared, no? Perhaps a little olive branch or whatever you use as one of the Fey folk may have been helpful in this situation. It's obvious that trust has been a hard thing to come by. Surely you could have made the first step forward and offered some knowledge that he may need or want
I will
in
look at
return
you.
for such knowledge in return.
I
It's
will say,
obvious
he never
friendship.
offered, he never even considered. He just spat down.
At this point, one of the scribes has walked up to the elderly man and he whispers something in the scribe's ear, and the scribe nods and quickly leaves the building.
I will watch this, and I will look up at the head scribe and say, you are losing out a great deal. Your ignorance is blinding you to more knowledge. I will turn around, and I just want, like, electricity just to be radiating off of me.
Okay. Are you sure about this? Go ahead,
yes.
roll a channel check.
Can I dodge and duck behind something?
You're not in any danger. I mean, you can, but
I
you're not...
do this for dramatic effect.
That's fine. All right, you do call the winds to you rather effortlessly, and a little bit of electricity seems to hop across various points on your skin as the hair on your arms and the back of your neck stands up as a little bit of a static charge surges through you. And you can see all the scribes very quickly back away from you, and many of them look shocked. The old man definitely cowers in his chair a good bit.
Humans. So ignorant, so blind.
Elves, so arrogant, misbehaving. I will call out from behind the desk.
I will see you later,
Didn't you hear the request not to do lightning things?
As you make your way towards the entrance, you see the scribe from earlier return, and he sees you approaching him as you're heading towards the exit, and he quickly leaps out of the way. But behind him, there's almost a heavy footfall, and the door opens a bit more, and you see a dwarf. And he's he's covered in these very elegant, careful robes with lots of gold stitching, and he has a very long white beard that's been plaited carefully to make up for its length. And in one hand, he carries a very bizarre-looking staff, but it's more like a series of icons made out of metal. And the instant his eyes meet yours, you feel like a pulse of electricity surge through the air. And he doesn't say anything, but his jaw sets and he just stares at you, and you can feel the winds of magic just like you just feel them get crushed.
I will look at him. I won't stop walking. I will keep walking. And I will just kind of, as I'm like almost alongside him, I will just shrug and keep walking past.
He shakes his head and you can hear him tutting, but he makes no attempt to stop you. All right, after you leave, the dwarf very slowly but with a great sense of inner strength makes his way up to the front of the room. And his eyes sort of flick to you, Riss, for a moment, and he just kind of smirks before he makes his way up to the desk. And the old man, the elder scribe, looks very concerned, but the dwarf walks up and almost too hard pats him on the back and says, there, my friend. Everything is fine. And the elderly scribe nods, shaking a little bit. And you see the runesmith at this point frown, and he reaches down into one of his belt pockets and pulls out a small little vial and hands it to the old man, who nods thankfully, uncorks it and drinks, and he seems to calm a lot and relaxes. And then the dwarf turns and frowns down at you, Rist, and says, "You're not traveling with that she-devil, are you?"
'Tis unfortunate, but she is co-worker, as it were. I've found some new employment over at Silverwood Logging Company, and I have been tasked with her and another. And I wanted to figure out what exactly I had gotten my head into when I realized this may be a bit more than I'm wanting to take.
He chuckles and shakes his head, and he says, "You stink of magic, halfling. It's..."
I know, both of them are wizards. You'd think you couldn't toss a stone over there and not hit a wizard.
He chuckles and says, "That's the thing about wizards. They attract more of their kind like locusts. Especially Silverhand. Wherever he goes, trouble always follows."
I have a feeling it would have been better to find that out before I signed that contract.
He chuckles, but his face does get a little more serious looking, and he looks at you, Wrist, and he says, if that bean sprout is an ally of yours, you'd best tell her she shouldn't use such displays so openly. I have no... He's like...
More important people have told her not to.
He steps forward, and he gives you a really stern look in your eye, and he says, "Let me make it clear then. There are already things going on. You really need to make sure she doesn't do that again."
I will look the dwarf in the eye. All right. Do you know where I could get a cudgel long enough so I could hit the back of her head if she tries it again? Mine's a bit too short.
He lets out like a loud belly laugh, which irritates and shocks all of the scribes. You can see that there's like a mix of disgust at the sheer volume he's producing. And he slaps his stomach a few times, and he says, if it was gonna smack an elf on top of the side of the head, I'm tempted to give you my staff, but my ancestors would never forgive me for it."
Well, family's real important. Can't let them down.
He chuckles and says, "Right you are about that, Master Halfling. Can I ask what it is that brought you to this Ungi Academy?"
I needed to find information about the dwarven engineers that were with Locksmith or Silverwood Company, along with a noble there and his lineage, and some groups thereabout. The Bloody Hounds seem to be a particularly unfavorable sort.
He nods big time, and he says, "We have no records on Silverhand or the Coventing clan. Not any that we have here, anyway. They're not locals. The Bloody Hounds, that's a different story." And he guides you over to one of the walls and carefully thumbs over it, and he pulls out one book, sits on the table. Then he pulls out the next one, sits on the table. Then he pulls out the next one, sits it on the table. He pulls out the next one, sits it on the table. And he turns to you and he says, "Those are public records of criminal records."
That's... I've heard of being hit with the book, but they've got 4.
He laughs again and shakes his head and says, "It's such a shame that halflings can't keep their fingers to themselves. It would do many of the holds good to have such humor about them. Unfortunately, halflings can't seem to resist pricking any golden leaflet they can find. I think the whole hold would be bare in a week."
Oh, we wouldn't want that. I understand me great-great-grandkids would have a right bit of trouble when you got around to finding them, if that were to occur.
He nods sagely and puts his hand on the book and says, "They can't leave they may not leave the room with you, but you are free to look at them any time you wish if you're desiring further details. I will tell you that if the Bloody Hounds are still led by Rolf, you'd best be careful.
He one of those books, then?
He kind of squints and he knocks the top two books off to the side, and the third book he kind of picks it up and he kind of opens it and grabs about a third of the pages and says, "This is Rolf."
That's a lot of words.
He closes the picture and says, "Aye, well, most of them are thieves and brigands associated under a common cause. Jettenberg put up with them for a good number of years before I arrived due to dealing with exterior threats. They were desperate for every sword they could get when dealing with goblins and beastmen. But things changed. The city grew, got stronger walls. My kin moved in, and we improved their defenses and gave them a chance against those wild beasts. And they decided they didn't need such ruffians to tolerate anymore. But fortunate for them, Silverhand bought them all off and paid off all of their bounties before they could pay a visit to the gallows."
Oh, they're right lucky then. Don't know if Silverhand got the raw end of that deal, though.
He frowns and says, "Well, if half the rumors of that wizard I've heard are true, then I think the Bloody Hounds are the ones who probably got the raw end of that deal."
Not exactly making me feel particularly happy about my circumstances, but it's good to know things when you're going into them.
He chuckles as he puts the books on top of each other and puts them back on the shelf. But you notice he does carefully put them on a shelf that you can reach. And he says, "Never go to a dwarf if you're looking for glad tidings, Master Halfling."
Oh, but I will go looking for a dwarf if I want to write good proper ale. I will nod to him. I'm Wrist Fumblefoot.
He nods and holds out a hand. He says, "You can call me Roderick, Stone Shaper."
'Twas a pleasure meeting you, Roderick.
He nods to you and he starts getting about his work.
I will turn to the less distraught head scribe and ask him to point me to some underling better suited to handling the business of researching the heraldry of the Bretonnian noble I wanted to find out about. And what lands he's associated to.
He begrudgingly points out a bald, clean-shaven young man who looks like he's not so much clean-shaven due to work, but just age.
Okay. I shall go up to him and in a library whisper say, "Hello, I have been sent in your direction for your knowledge and expertise."
He nods. And he waits.
I would be needing a research into the heraldry and lands of one Raymond Pertinia, Bretonnian noble, just over the mountains, I hear.
His eyes slowly narrow, and he goes, "Were you sent here to mess with me?"
Perhaps. Have you annoyed the head scribe recently?
He smirks at that and he says, "I'm going to need more knowledge, more specifics than that, sir, if I'm going to find Riemann what?"
Riemann Perquin. Bretonnian noble. Father recently died a few years back in the old country. Apparently his cousin owns the land of the family.
He thinks for a
I
moment.
will describe some of the heraldry on his horse.
All right, the scribe does start taking down some notes, and he sort of nods to himself, and he looks up and says, "This will probably take a bit." He nods and says, "Come back tomorrow, and I should have it. Depending on how long it takes me, I'll charge you then.
Okay, and I will give him 5 pennies as an upfront thing. Just to make sure that you don't lose out if something happens to me. It's hard work going through all those books. If you could find the time to find out what nice Bretonian wines are grown in that area, it'd do me a real favor.
He nods and pockets the 5.
I'll be seeing you tomorrow then.
All right. Verve, what have you been up to? You got a good head start on the halfling, unless you've just been chilling outside.
I am looking for, like, I want to go to the richier areas of the town, and I want to try and find, because I don't know what in this setting wizards can wear and still be able to cast magic.
You can wear anything as long as it's not metal. So you can't wear chainmail, you can't wear plate. You can wear leather, you can wear, like...
Basically what I want to...
From what I remember, because metal is associated with the wind of metal, and animal skin's associated with the wind of beasts, what happens is if you're wearing any armor, you suffer 1 success level penalty to all spells you cast per point of armor on the biggest armor spot.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I'll double check it, but it's not advised to wear any armor as a wizard. Unless, like, if you want armor, at that point you should be looking into spells.
Basically, I want to be able to wear what, like, a spell singer would wear. Because they have appearances of armor.
Spell singers typically just wear robes. Any armor that they have is probably like aesthetic or like bark-based armor, which you could theoretically make, but it would take a while and you'd probably have to like study into it.
Okay.
But you will. You definitely want to avoid metal armor though, because metal armor and lightning magic do not mix. There are specific rules about how they do not mix.
Yeah.
Or rather, they do mix, but not in a good way.
I don't want metal. Like, I want to look the part.
Okay, that's... Oh, okay. In that case, you probably just need to visit, like, a specialized tailor. But you... Finding one would be difficult without causing concerns. Like, you need to know how to tactfully find one, would be the tricky part. Because going around shouting, "I'm an elven wizard," is probably not advisable.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do that. Okay. That's basically my task. That, and I want to try and find any sort of magical shop that they might have.
Good luck with that. Roll, if you want to look for it right now, roll a D100. You need a 10 or below to find a shop that might sell a magical item. Genberg does not have a very strong magic community. No dice.
Okay, so I will continue to try and find, a tailor that will... Because I have a thought of how I want to approach it, basically as, like, a...
We'll tackle that at the start of next session, so
Okay.
I can, like, double-check a few things.
Yeah. Basically, I'll just say it's basically I'm going to try and use it as a costume for a party.
Okay.
Like a gala.
Okay.
And everyone's coming as something different.
Okay.
That's basically...
But you want it to look suitably wood elfy.
Yeah, I want it to be what it's supposed to be, but I'm just veiling it in something else.
Okay. All right. I will figure that out before next session.
Okay.
Anything else?
From either of us?
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to do is try and find. It's probably on the outskirts of town or something. I want to find any horse breeder of any kind.
We will do that next session because that's going to have some vague plot stuff.
Okay.
And, I need to buy lamp oil, bandages, and I will need at some point to commission a breastplate made for me because I'm assuming people don't have halfling breastplates around to be picked up.
Not traditionally, but getting a halfling breastplate commissioned is actually fairly easy. Okay, lamp oil will cost you 2 silver per thing of it.
All right.
What else did you want?
Bandages.
All right, bandages. You find a easy shop for travelers that sells them at 5 brass apiece.
All right, I will buy 3 of them. And then 2 bandages, or 2 things of oil.
How hard would it be to get ingredients? Sotek here.
Not. It would be fairly easy because most ingredients aren't magically based unless it's like a really powerful spell or ritual.
Okay, yeah, I would like to buy some ingredients.
Okay, whatever spell you want the ingredient for, the casting value is what it cost in brass, to a minimum of 1.
Okay.
Which for the Lore of Heavens, the ones that you can find in town that are fairly cheap is the spells that rely upon if you're wanting electricity spells, then you'll want to go to like a blacksmith and buy like shavings of metal from him. Like basically the refuse that he's not going to use.
Okay.
And he'll gladly, like he was going to throw them away anyway, so he'll gladly part with them for whatever the casting value is to a minimum of 1.
Okay.
Just note for each spell how many ingredients worth of that spell you're going to buy.
Do ingredients work with just arcane spells?
Yes, it's only arcane.
I mean, like, bolt and breath and chain attack and all those ones, not of heavens.
No, lesser spells and petty magic do not have ingredients. Only arcane magic does.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Only the big boy spells.
Got it.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna buy three things, which is gonna be 3, 6, 9 brass.
Okay.
How many shillings to a brass?
12. And you wanted to commission a breastplate?
Yes.
An actual breastplate or like mail?
No, a breastplate is what I need for my next advancement. And I figure having one made will take time. And so hopefully by the time it's made and I get it, I'll have the XP to advance.
Okay, you can feel free to haggle for it, but after kind of, you can find a blacksmith who can easily do that for you. Off the bat, he wants to charge you, let's see, he'll take quite a bit off because of your size. He offers to make it for you for 7 gold, is his initial offer.
Oh, 7 gold is... It's not bad, but I am not as portly as some halflings. That's a savings there, however slim it is. I'm not asking for the world, just a small bit less. And I will attempt to haggle.
No, he puts his foot down pretty firmly under the he claims that due to your small stature, he can't make the metal as thick as he normally would, so he'll have to use special techniques and ingredients to make sure that it's thin enough that you can easily wear it without it weighing down your form. So, if anything, you being smaller than the average halfling makes it harder, not easier.
Oh, yeah, that is true. I'm not a metal worker, so I wouldn't have thought of that. But I definitely want to say, if you're making it thinner than you normally do so that I can move about, it also means it has less protection. So, what to say we call it 7 gold and you try your best to give me the life-saving protection I need so that when, say, in the future, I think about needing something to protect me other vulnerable bits, I think fondly of you and come back here.
I will note, so long as you make a compelling argument, you may continue to attempt haggle checks. So, like,
no, I think that this is a reasonable price considering it's marked down for me being smaller.
Okay, that's fine. Then he agrees to your deal and holds out his much larger and blackened with soot and covered in calluses hand.
All right, I hand him 7 crowns.
All right.
Or I ask him, what's the usual payment up front? I know you need the materials and costs, but do I pay labor up front?
He tells you to do 3 up front for raw materials, and he'll take the other 4 after it's done.
Okay. I'm going to take off 7 crowns from mine and just mark that I have 4 more in my inventory. So that I don't spend the money I'm supposed to give him, but I'll make a note I have that in case something comes up.
All right. And he tells you it'll be ready in 2 weeks' time.
All right, thank you very much. I am Wrist Fumblefoot. Here's my sign, and I will show him my ABCDE. ABCD. Yeah, my initials all the way up to F. Because it's late and I can't think. In case I have someone send someone to pick it up for me with the money, since I may be out of town in 2 weeks.
He nods and tells you that anyone he says to the effect that no one on Earth would come to him asking for a halfling breastplate. So if somebody does, as long as they've got 4 crowns, he knows it's for you.
All right, very noble of you. I look forward to seeing your fine work. I will walk out and see Verve.
All right.
Could Verve, but could you make a wee promise not to disturb all the humans again?
Disturb
even
them?
If they deserve it. Cowering in fear behind desks is pretty much close to disturbing as I can find.
They're just like cowering for their lives, and Ver's just like, that's just their natural state.
I will look at Wrist and say, I change the promise to I will do my utmost not to terrify the local population by my mere presence.
I'll change that from mere present to magic at all. Obviously, certain things are acceptable, like if someone is trying to shank you, but overly being mean and saying bad, nasty words, I would like the magic not to appear.
Imagine him just like holding out his hands to the side of his head, being like his fists, and then he opens them when he says not to appear. Like, don't do the magic trick.
So what you're saying is to not be me.
Oh no, you can still be as arrogant and proper and right as you are. Just don't use the sparkle things to make them all cower. Just do that by being you. Without the lightning. Give them a good steely-eyed glare that makes their knees wobble and weak. Just don't send the light through their knees to make them wobble. Or singe their carpets.
Did I singe their carpets?
Maybe, I don't know. Did you
I
look?
hope I did.
You probably didn't singe it, but there's probably like a noticeable difference of where your feet were. Like someone's gonna have to like go over those with a brush later.
I will look at Wrist and say, fine. Only while we are here in the city.
Of course.
Outside the city is a different matter.
I will look uneasy as I realize I'm traveling outside of the city with you.
That is all you're getting. Take it.
I was waiting for the leave it, but I think I'll take it.
I will nod then.
Don't want to do anything else?
Yes, I am going to gossip around to see if I can find any more of the fair folk at the elf's request.
Okay.
In a more surreptitious manner than, hey, anyone seen any knife ears nearby? So, a gossip at what difficulty?
Regular. Well, you're a halfling. I'll get. You're friendly. I'll give you plus 20. Okay. So, you ask, and what's your precise wording?
Oh, I ask about. I'm assuming you mentioned to me the gala thing, and your dress, at some point. So I will ask about
maybe I can
someone
find someone better.
that's an expert in the Fae folk, because I have a patron who desires an authentic wardrobe for a fancy gala up north in Altdorf. And this being closer to their realm, they might have a better expert to find here than up there.
You do ask around a bit. Most people... you do get a couple of people who vaguely recommend some tailors in Jettenberg, but they all seem pretty unsure of your specifications. There are 2 or 3 very confident people who tell you that there is a delightful tailor in Bogenhofen who specializes in exotic tailoring.
I will ask if it's that guy off Peach Pie Street, coming from Bogenhofen.
Sure, yes.
Oh, I thought to go on to him, but he does excellent work, but it isn't quite authentic, as you would say. It's more clever mimicry, but darn good work as it is on a deadline. My patron wanted to spend a more lengthy amount of time to get something more accurate. You know how some of them are.
One of the individuals you talk to, an older woman, she scowls when you even mention the Fae folk, and she kind of points a finger in your face and she says, "Shame on you! How dare you utter those words in a sanctified city? Haven't you heard what's been going on? No tailor's gonna willingly craft something of those monsters."
What's been happening near here? I haven't been this way. I've only arrived recently with the order. Could you tell me what kind of monstrosity has been happening here? I'm completely out of the loop. Is it safe here? I will turn around and look nervously.
She leans forward conspiratorially and she goes, "It's safe in the city, dearie, but on the roads. There's been people have been saying on the roads that people have been vanishing, and the watch have been finding them. And I'm telling you, it's the Fae that did it, because they've been finding them and they've been eaten not by wild animals. They thought it was people, but I know it's the Fae. Everybody knows they eat raw human flesh.
I will look scared and then realize I'm a halfling. I don't have human flesh. I'm good.
And she like borderline Pillsbury Doughboy pokes you in the stomach, and she says, "And halflings too."
The nerve of them! I bet they don't even give us a good proper herbing up before they do it. The barbarians.
She gives you.
I will insult their manners and how indignant I would be to be eaten improperly prepared.
She gives you kind of a suspicious look that you seem to have a preference on how people should be eaten, but she decides to let it go because halflings. And then she leans back and says, "Stay off the roads and don't go asking about such impolite subjects." You're gonna
keep
call
it on my mind, mistress.
She goes, "You're gonna call the curse of Moor down on you." And she shuffles away in her elderly
I
rage.
wouldn't want to dance with Ronald, would I? Or was it dancing with Moore? I never get that idiom right.
She looks fairly irritated suddenly by your presence and huffs away in a way only old ladies who are very entitled can.
I enjoy that witty banter and come back to Verve with the option of 3 tailors who may know how to do a proper elven-y thing. And so I don't know if that's going to be from like second-hand knowledge or if any of them know.
It was very secondhand.
About.
There was a lot of people who there was a lot of I think so and so might be able to do it. It was not great.
Oh, I will tell Verve that there was apparently this elf with lightning walking through town earlier. But I think that's her, so I haven't heard of any other elf. They seem to be circumspect.
I will nod kind of gravely and say, perhaps I should just focus on the horse then, and you will just see my face just twist when I say this.
Well, you can always keep looking. After all, it was only a brief bit of asking around. Usually things like this, especially if someone wants to be keeping quiet about, say, them being one of the... he looks around to make sure no one's close enough to really hear. The fair folk. Because some people in this town, and I will look towards the dwarven area, have a wee bit of a problem with, say, them wandering about. So it could be worth spending more time finding things. Also, you could ask around to find out if there's any nearby. Say, not in Jorgenberg? Jettenberg? What's this town's name? Jettenberg.
I guess Yatenberg would actually be closer, but whatever.
It's so small compared to Bogenhofen, you can't quite get the name right. But there may be some in the outlying areas not in, say, town. But off in the woods somewhere. Speaking to some of the herbalists and such that go wandering through the forest and the deep woods with the plants, or maybe the tall priests. I don't know how their connection with your folk or how they do. But amongst the common man wandering the street, probably not going to have a great time finding an elf. Since you're looking for, apparently there's different kinds of elves, and you want a certain one?
I will nod and say, thank you, Rist, for your attempt. Perhaps herbalist shops are a good idea.
I will look to see where the sun's at and decide whether a stop to an herbalist is worthwhile at this time.
Y'all are well past noon at this point. I'd say it's probably like ticking towards 2-3 p.m. And Y'all are getting towards the end of summer, or y'all are actually, yeah, y'all are into summer, early fall. So it'll probably go dark at like 7 or 8, probably 8.
Do you think Vertstat's fine on his own?
He seemed very tired. Perhaps we
Well,
should check on him.
maybe.
And there is lunch waiting for us at the tavern.
Ah, you've convinced me. Let's go. We can visit the herbalist later.
I will
Alright.
nod.
And that'll be a good place to stop. Okay, great job. I'll message Aztec, but 100 experience to everybody. Hooray. 100.
Hey.
Alright. Man, we got so much shit we still gotta do. Okay. That's good, though.
Sorry.
No, it's not y'all's fault. Cold.
Like, to be honest, Sotek, I don't know. Like, maybe I spaced out during the session on an important part. But I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for.
What do you mean?
I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in town.
Oh. Nothing. You're not
Whatever you
supposed.
want.
You're not supposed to do anything. I've just left lots of breadcrumbs if you want to do anything. But you gotta, like, figure it out. Gotta, like, talk to people or explore or just decide, alright, screw it, I'm done, I'm gonna go get a horse now. Trust me, there is a lot going on in Jettenberg beneath the surface.
Well, Ben didn't tell me what was going on anyway, so I still don't know that.
There's like, I'll put it this way, I got 2 pages worth of crap that is totally optional going on in the city right now. And if y'all miss it, you miss it. Whatever, it's fine. It's not like super crazy intricate, but there's a lot going on. But a couple of the things didn't happen expressly because it's just the 2 of you. So you'll probably have a much better feeling of, oh, this is what I could probably be doing once all 4 of you are back. Or 3 of you, since Drac never left the... I'll figure that out. Anyway. Okay, y'all good?
Yep.
Any
Yep,
questions
I think so.
before I turn off the recording? Nope. Okay, great. Bye, everyone.